Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 215 of the Hoots podcast. While this may be episode 215, it's number one in your heart. Welcome to the program, everybody. It's truly Brother Adam, the nefarious Joshie Lopez. Hope you guys are having a wonderful week so far. You can follow me on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast, Instagram, Joshie Lopez 94, and at Josh Lopez Music. Make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. As we're here recording the show on a Thursday, I posted over 12 wrestling result articles in the last 6 days or so. So I got a lot of content out there for you guys to go check out and consume. Really quick, I want to give a shout out to my mentor and one of my good friends, Jonathan Hood, for having me on his Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday podcast this weekend radio show on ESPN 1000 WMVP Chicago for you old school radio lingo heads out there. Always a blast to be on TWT. We had like a little sideshow on his podcast called Hood and Lopez, so make sure to go check it out on Jonathan's podcast page. Is Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. You can find the show the same way you can find our shows. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play. All we ever ask for those who are listening to the show, interact with us. You know, leave us a review, give us a rating, let us know what you think about the show, positively or negatively. And we're doing a lot of good content here during this quarantine era of pro wrestling, which I think sooner or later, before Derek starts revamping in his educational work and things get busy for him, I'm sure we'll have a time through one of these shows to kind of like take a step back and reflect on what the real takeaway is from this pandemic era of wrestling. So I'm looking forward to that in the coming weeks. But with that said, we have a lot to recap today. We got to talk about Extreme Rules, the horror show that took place on Sunday. Recap Slammiversary that went down this past Saturday night in Nashville, Tennessee. Also, coming up Saturday, New Japan Pro Wrestling is presenting Sengoku Lord. One of the interesting names out there for a wrestling pay-per-view, but hey, it is what it is. We heard a lot worse over the years.
Remember, Josh, the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view name?
Yeah, it's funny that paper was actually good without the name title.
I know. Lesnar and Samoa Joe brought the house down that night.
Oh, yes, they did. Capital Punishment. That always rings out the top of my head. I kind of feel like we're living in Capital Punishment, but that's another show for another time. All right. Really quick, one last shout out before I bring in Brett Carter. Make sure to check out the TBD Wrestling podcast with Matt McCool, our good brother, and referee Tony. I think in maybe a week or two time, I'm going to have that special episode that I was teasing a couple weeks ago about breaking down the matches and today's in-ring wrestling style. I have Tony, who's a real professional wrestling referee. He's been doing it for almost a decade now, and the guy's very talented at what he does. And I have almost 8 years of experience transcribing and breaking down matches to its core, just making the transcripts and doing it a little different than everybody else does for result articles over the years. And it's going to be a really fascinating conversation because sometimes when you have a state of wrestling conversation, it's always so centered around your taste and what the booking is and whether you like that booking or not. This is a time where we can have the state of wrestling of the actual wrestling, and I'm looking forward. It's going to be a very unique podcast. I'm looking forward to it. You know, last year I had the fortunate opportunity to have the interview with Ant from Rant Net when he made his announcement of leaving the wrestling media game, and I felt that podcast was very productive for the field that we're in, and just like kind of the stress and the pressure that comes with being a content creator. And I thought that was very good for the community, and Ant let off a lot of steam, and Ant's still my brother. I talked to him and reached out to him as much as I could, and I'm happy for him that he's just enjoying life and keep busy and just being the man. So shout out to Ant. And then finally, without further ado, the Max Kellerman to my Stephen A. Smith.
I embrace every second of that, my friend.
Yes. The one and only Brother Carter, Director of Operations himself, Derek Stoughton.
Thank you. Yes, round of applause. What's going on, Brother Adam? Good to be back, as always, here on the podcast that Hoots. Glad to be here for episode 215. You can follow me, for those of you that are listening, you can follow me on Twitter at Derek Stoughton, DerekStoughton. Follow me there. You can also follow me on Instagram at Jericho06. It's like Jericho, except with a D. And then 06 at the end. Also, be sure to check out my work on WrestlingRumors.net. I write articles for that website. Also publish an opinion piece here or there whenever I feel like I really have the urge to say something. I only publish opinion pieces when something really needs to be said, and I have a very strong opinion about it because I just don't try to put fluff out there. I want to make sure that it's good, thoughtful, relevant content. So thrilled to be here, Josh. Thrilled to be here with you. We have a lot to discuss this week, as you mentioned. Extreme Rules was a good show, and I enjoyed it. A very controversial show, no doubt about it, and I'm sure we'll get into all of that. And I know, Josh, you have a rant on a certain wrestling personality that you will be undertaking this week, and I would like to join you in that rant when it is time to do so. But glad to be here, and looking forward to talking some wrestling. What a week it's been. So much to talk about. What am I the Lance Catamaran, or am I the Chet Cheddarfield?
You could be Lance Catamaran.
I could be Lance Catamaran.
Because just like John Cena, you're a mystery, my man.
I'm a mystery wrapped in an enigma. Ooh. Jerry Seinfeld would say that I'm a mystery wrapped in a Twinkie, but that's another.
Okay, enough.
All my Seinfeld fans will get that reference. But
come on,
glad to be here, Jess. Lots to talk about.
Come on, Saxon.
Hey! Okay, so you're telling me I'm Max Kellerman, Lance Catamaran, Byron Saxton, Adam was right, though. Adam was right when he said I was the Byron Saxton of this show. I watch Saxton every week on Raw, and I'm like, yep, I would say that. Yep, that's something I would say. Yeah. Oh, well. What can you do?
Right. Oh, man. I love doing this show, and I'm sure you can attest to this. I think this is the most you've ever been doing podcasts. I know you were hosting through a time period when you were doing warm-up, and we had the Universal Chat team, but I think this is probably a different experience from you actually recording a podcast. And, I don't have that much of ego where I don't allow Brett Carter to implement what he wants to do on the show. For example, the thoughts of Jericho, we kind of commingled on the what the hell is wrong with AEW segment, And
Josh, I gotta say, and I don't mean to brag or whatever. I've come up with some wacky ideas over the years. Some have worked. That has got to be the best idea I've ever come up with.
Yes, you deserve a Slammy for that, for sure.
That's
only one request though. You have to celebrate it like Owen Hart would.
Oh, absolutely! I did it! Woo! Yeah. Or should I do it like Owen Hart, or should I do it like Jason Sensation?
Either or works for me.
I look like a damn road sign. Look at how big my damn nose is.
You know what, Brother Carter? We're recording this live right now on a Thursday. I might actually use that promo as the intro this week. It's for old school.
It was great. It was great. Oh my gosh.
Man. One of the few good parts of the Attitude Era that everybody thinks everything is golden groovy. Austin Powers reference right there.
Groovy, baby. Yeah. Oh, now it's been fun doing these shows, man. In pandemic time, we've been stuck at home, and so it's been fun to get to be a part of the show. And as you mentioned, once things get going in August, I'll have to step away and just do these shows via satellite with the thoughts of Jericho and the what the hell is wrong. But it's been fun, man. And thanks for allowing me, just some no-name Nimrod who just has an opinion, the opportunity, a platform to share his thoughts. It's much appreciated, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Yes, wonderful. Yeah. But it's real quick, Josh. It's just been crazy to think about how you and I have evolved over the years. You know, we met on, you came on Wrestling Warm Up one time when we were able to do that show. And then, you know, you and I started Universal Chatter, which was fun when we had the chance to do that show. And now you've got the Hoots podcast, which is incredibly successful, the best wrestling podcast out there. Everybody, by the way, if you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe and check it out anywhere you get your podcasts. Tell a friend about it because Josh is doing great work. And now you have your show and it's wildly successful. So it's been fun that this journey that you and I have been on over the last 5-6 years, maybe.
Yeah. 5.5 years.
Because I think we started in 2015. I want to say is when we started doing warm up, and you were a regular panelist with Adam and and Matt and that whole cast and crew, and it was crazy.
Yeah, we had a menagerie of on-air people for sure.
Yes, we did. Did you ever have the delete button? I'd have the delete button.
Yeah, on speed dial, you had it. Man. That was no filter Joshie time. I still had that on occasion, but this is a podcast, it's not a radio show, so it can be loose. You know, it's so different an experience now for me to wake up and record a podcast as opposed to when I was waking up early when I was going to school for broadcasting and waking up at like 7 o'clock in the morning and preparing for a radio show. It's a very different experience for me recording wise. But you know, again, none of this is possible without the support of each and every single one of you who take the time out of your day to listen to the podcast. Hell, we did over 6,000 plays this week.
Awesome.
Which is insane.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you guys for support. And we are 22,000 plays and downloads away from reaching to 200,000. Think about this. We started the show. I think we got to 100 or something like that by WrestleMania, and we're already past 70,000 people since. And it's awesome. So thank you guys again for the support. All right, Brother Carter, we're 12 minutes into the show. We had our monologue out of the way. Now it's time to get into some serious business. And I don't know how much serious business you can get into when you have a show called The Horror Show. But at the same time, there are... I think... I always come to this realization when we get ready to record a show that some people just take wrestling too seriously. Oh, God, so you would think that Extreme Rules of Horror Show is supposed to be some serious show, no comedy, no nothing, just off the vibe of what you saw on Twitter. I'll start off with this, and we'll go back and forth. I don't know if we'll recap every single match from the show, but here's the thing. When you have a match like Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins for an eye for an eye match, honestly, somebody tell me how you have a proper finish for an eye match, B, how that match layout should be in the first place, and C, I think I'm probably one of the few people that actually point this out when people are confused about what's going on or things come off flat. I usually tend to point out that the commentary can do a lot better in protecting whatever finishes may seem odd to you. And here's the thing. Here's my biggest takeaway with this whole Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins match at Extreme Rules. Yes, the stipulation did not need to be booked for eye for an eye. I understand that. We all talked about that going into the thing. At the same time, to sit back and see so many people talk about, oh my God, this is so unrealistic. This is weird. No, like I told, we were talking about this the other day. No, it was going to be completely normal. Just like a regular match, you know, you just jam a guy's fucking eye out. And, and I don't know what people were expecting out of that match. Yes, both guys were painted in a corner and you have an eye for an eye stipulation. I understand all of that. Again, when we watch these shows, when you're watching the WWE show, you know what WWE is. It's an entertainment-based wrestling promotion. When you watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, it's a series-based wrestling show. Impact Wrestling, probably more edgy content, but still strong hitting wrestling. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell AEW is, and we'll get into that later on. But the point is, when you watch, you understand what you're getting into. And I think too many times, a lot of people try to project that all wrestling companies need to be presented the same way. And I couldn't disagree more, because I thought Rollins and Mysterio did a hell of a job of what they had to work with. Right. Yes, the best way to get out of that stipulation is not having that stipulation be booked. But at the end of the day, what did those guys do in the ring and how they executed? I thought they both did a good job with what they were dealt with. So that was my opinion. What did you think about it?
Yeah, Josh, I agree with you completely. And obviously the most controversial match of Extreme Rules is the eye for an eye match, no question. And was it weird? Yes. Was it kind of a weird finish? Yes, of course it was. And like you said, the easiest way would have just been to not have the stipulation in the first place. But look, we are in a global pandemic. We can't have fans at an audience, or we can't have fans at a show. Obviously, if this was normal times, they would have never done an eye for an eye match in front of a live crowd or anything like that. You wouldn't have done that. WWE is trying to think outside the box. They're trying to do something different. They're trying to do something creative. They're trying to, because you have to during this time. If you just presented the same generic wrestling show every week, people would be saying, oh my God, this is so boring. Why isn't WWE trying anything new? But then they go ahead and try something new, and people, oh my God, this was the worst idea ever. Why is WWE doing this? It's just like people are just finding ways to complain, because that's how they feel that they're going to get clicks. That's how they feel that they're going to get people to listen to their show. That's how, it's the whole adage of, what do you see on the news every day? You see negative things. You see people getting killed. You see, all this horrible stuff, because that's, unfortunately, as humans, by and large, that's how we're wired. We're attracted to negativity. We're attracted to, complaining. We're attracted to blah, 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 blah. So that's what people are doing. They're just finding something to complain about. Now, I agree that I agree with you, Josh. It was a weird match, and maybe not the greatest stipulation in the world, but at least they're trying. And Seth Rollins and Mysterio had a good match. Like, right. Did you think, their match away from the finish, the actual in-ring match was terrific. And I thought that there were some great spots and some great wrestling. So I thought that was great. And I can't wait. I would think we're leading to Rollins versus Mysterio just in a straight up wrestling match at SummerSlam, which is going to be, it could steal the show. It's going to be absolutely terrific. So, but yeah, and I know we'll get into the other matches here in a bit, but yeah, so just for me, Josh, for the eye for an eye match, I just think that WWE's trying to think outside the box. Maybe the concept was a swing and a miss. Fine. Not everything's going to be a home run every time, especially in a global pandemic. But I thought the in-ring action was fine. And props to WWE for trying something new and thinking outside the box.
You just hit the point right there. We can't cherry pick what WWE's actually trying to do creative-wise and then say they don't take any risks. So either try to do something different or don't do it at all.
And listen, Josh, by and large, WWE's risks that they've taken have been awesome. I mean, think about the Boneyard match. Think about the Firefly Funhouse match. That was hilarious.
Think about Otis.
I actually liked the Viking Raiders Street Profits film.
Backlash, yeah.
I thought that was hilarious too. I thought that was great. When the ninjas showed up, that was awesome. That was so funny. I thought that was great. When they piped in the audio for the Edge Orton match, that was great. So again, you're not going to hit home runs every single time. You just aren't.
Let me ask you this question, since it's pertinent and this show got kind of the prior SmackDown, not the one I had Friday, but the one we recapped last week, got so much just trashed on. This show got trashed on too. I kind of felt that vibe going into the show. There's so many times when I remember this a lot when there would be like a takeover weekend or an AEW show would happen before WWE pay-per-views. Like, oh, there's no chance this show's going to be good tonight. And the worst thing, in my opinion, as a wrestling fan, is to go into a show with a preconceived notion. If you're not going into a wrestling show trying to learn something new and just enjoying it for what it is, I don't see the purpose of why you're watching that show. Because, again, it goes to the point, whether it's sports, entertainment, music, whatever, people hate watch, people hate listen. They'll find any reason to justify their stance on something instead of actually processing something for what it is. So I'll ask you, was Extreme Rules, the horror show, the worst pay-per-view of all time?
I am so glad you asked me that, Josh. No, Extreme Horror Show was not the worst pay-per-view of all the time, despite what certain wrestling personalities who think that their opinion is relevant may say. I thought, Josh, top to bottom, the wrestling action itself was excellent. From top to bottom, there was just great matches all the way through. I thought Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre had a fantastic match with the unique stipulation in that one. I really enjoyed Cesaro and Nakamura and the New Day. I thought that was great. Nikki Cross had a wonderful performance against Bayley. That was really good. And if we want to get further into these matches, Josh, we certainly can. I thought that, except for the finish, the Asuka Sasha Banks match, I thought that was really great. I really enjoyed that. MVP continues to be the one of the best people in the company. Just a short little promo. I mean, Murphy. What can you say about Murphy? He had another great outing against Kevin Owens. And then I actually thought that the street fight or the swamp fight was very entertaining as well. Perhaps not the best pre-produced match WWE's ever done, but it was very entertaining. I said this on Twitter that I think Bray, and this may be a controversial statement, you can send your hate tweets at Derek Stoughton. I think Bray Wyatt's character is on its way to being on the level of The Undertaker. It is that good. And it's going to go down as one of the top characters of all time. I think Bray Wyatt is. I think he's absolutely incredible. But overall, Josh, top to bottom, I really enjoyed the show. And I thought just the action was fantastic all the way through. It was great.
We'll get into the other controversial part of the show in a couple minutes. Since you're running down the matches that stood out to you, I'll go over which ones stood out to me. Really quick, I really enjoyed the Kevin Owens Buddy Murphy match on the kickoff show. I thought that was a really good match. Starting off the show, the tag title match, the tables match with New Day and Cesaro and Nakamura was great. Great to see Nakamura and Cesaro become tag team champions. And you kind of forget in context that, while Cesaro's never been a world champion or anything like that, this guy's been an intercontinental champion. This guy's been a U.S. champion. This guy's had multiple tag team title runs. Probably one of the most underrated tag team wrestlers of all time. And Cesaro has a good resume, and I think it's his fourth tag partner that he's had where he became a champion, which is, you don't see that with a lot of people. And I'm very happy for Cesaro, and it's cool to see Nakamura get gold again. Wow.
Man, I love Nakamura. He's my guy.
Despite my general indifference towards Bayley, I actually enjoyed her match with Nikki Cross a lot. I thought that was a really good match. My favorite match of the show, Brother Carter, was the Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler WWE title match. I mentioned it to you while the show's going on that one way or another, Ziggler was going to turn the tables basically on Drew McIntyre, kind of like how Christian did on Randy Orton during their feud. And while I wanted the Claymore to be banned, I thought that would really work. I thought the one that Ziggler chose was not bad. You had basically a reverse Extreme Rules match. Like that's basically what it was. And it's crazy. I thought they made the best of it. Now here's the thing. Yes, what does it really do for Drew McIntyre? Like, Stevie Wonder could figure out that Dolph Ziggler was not going to win that match either way on Sunday. But as far as the WWE title match, I thought that was the best part of the show, and I thought Drew McIntyre killed it. And this is another topic for another show, but I think Drew McIntyre has been kind of underappreciated for what he's been doing as a WWE champion so far. But that was my favorite match of the show. As far as the Swamp Fight's concerned, it's so hard to really compare these cinematic matches because the Boneyard is such at a elite top tier level that everything under it or after just seems lower than what it is. And I have a partial bias to this because the Undertaker's there, and I don't know whether that's his last match or not. But nonetheless, I thought with what Bray and Braun were given in their story they were told, I thought it was pretty interesting. And we talked about it last week. We didn't find out anything about the match with pinfalls, submissions. There was no referees there, obviously. So obviously we knew that was going to be a no contest. But the part where they have Alexa Bliss be the person to lure Braun Strowman.
Yes. That was awesome.
Yeah, to lure Strowman into the swamp. I thought that was great. Very good hocus pocus waterfall visual right there, if you will. But I thought Bray and Braun did what they had to do. And how about that Braun Strowman promo from SmackDown last Friday?
Dude, that was one of his best promos ever. That was really good. I really like that. Real quick, Josh, before I talk about this one, I want to go back real quick. I know I mentioned this last week, but I want to say it again. I really hope that one day, like, you talked about Cesaro and his resume, and he's done all the things he's been asked of him, and he's done them at a very high level.
Right.
I would love to see him. I said this last week, but I would love to see him take on Walter for the NXT UK Championship. I think that would be an incredible match. I could see Cesaro being the one to dethrone Walter, or however Ring General. I would love to see Cesaro be the one because I think Cesaro could do amazing things in NXT UK. I would love to see him over there.
God, I miss NXT UK so much.
I know you do, buddy. I know you do. I hope we get it back soon. But
I got their song stuck in my head now. Imperium.
It's such a good song. And
I miss hearing the good old Andy Shepherd, the ring announcer from NXT UK, the best ring announcer in the business.
Absolutely.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall.
Oh, it's awesome. But so that's what I'd love. That's what I'd love to see for Cesaro. I want to see Nakamura go back to being a face eventually once the crowds can do that. But
correcto.
I know it. But anyways, I guess, Josh, what I was going to say also before we get into the Swamp Fight, one other thought I had was the only thing, and I agree with you that the Drew McIntyre Dolph Ziggler match was great. Both of them were fantastic. Ziggler has been just an incredible wrestler for years, and I'm glad that he got a WWE Championship match. You knew he wasn't going to win it, but it was still cool to see him get that. The only thing that I didn't like about that match, Josh, and please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, is the only thing I didn't like is that Ziggler hit McIntyre with like 3 or 4 of his finishers after beating him down like crazy, and all it took was one Claymore to send Ziggler down. So I felt that it made Ziggler look a little weak. So that's the only thing I didn't like, because he hit him with all of his finishers. Completely changed the narrative, and used chairs and tables and low blows and all that kind of stuff. And all it took was one Claymore. So that was my only thing, is it kind of made Ziggler look weak, and that's the only thing I didn't really like about that, because I thought Ziggler has been an incredible talent for years. So that was the only thing I didn't like about that match, Josh. Am I wrong to think that way?
No, you're not. It's a mixed bag because so many matches now have so many like false finishes where you kind of get used to it to a certain degree, where you need like 2 RKOs to put somebody away, or God knows what. If it was the Kenny Omega Marco Stunt match, you need 3 one-winged angels to put him away. But like, I don't think it made Ziggler look weak, because you remember with Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre, their match was so short, it was just finishing, boom, 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 boom.
True.
So when you compare a Claymore kick from McIntyre to Lesnar to McIntyre and Ziggler, I can see why
that makes sense. I forgot about the Lesnar McIntyre thing, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but the last thing we'll mention here on the pay-per-view, I agree with you. I thought for the most part the action was pretty good from just the show as a whole. I thought the commentary could be a little better. I'm not gonna lie about that. I thought it took away from the show at times, but like overall, maybe give it like a B- or something like that. I wasn't expecting Extreme Rules to be the pay-per-view of the year. Like you would think, reading Twitter sometimes, it's the end-all be-all, but it's really not. But we have to talk about this: the controversy of controversies. Sasha Banks versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. You know what? I agree with Stephanie McMahon when she said on Monday that was indeed a horror show.
Okay, here's the deal, Josh. I actually thought that the in-ring action between Asuka and Banks was good, and I thought actually Sasha Banks, for as much of a hard time as we give her, and rightfully so, Sasha Banks is very talented. I think she's a very talented wrestler. I know you and I had a discussion on Raw. I think Sasha Banks is also a very, very fine human being as well. So that Mizake is a very lucky man. But why? Like, how does the only thing I like about it, Josh, was the finish, because that was a horror show. Like, what does Bayley do? Like, I get that they were trying to set something up for later on. I understand that. But that's what you're going with? Bayley all of a sudden thinks she has the power to put on a referee's uniform, make the count, and give her friend the title. And Asuka's just like, what? Whoa, how's this okay? This was the one time where the general manager concept would have been fine. But now Stephanie showed up and made it all right, and that's all fine. So I get what they were doing, but that finish just kind of But overall, I actually thought that the actual in-ring competition was actually pretty good.
I didn't think that match was gonna have a clean, decisive winner.
Right.
When you have a match like Asuka and Sasha, you'd rather have a clean stipulation like that on a a Rumble or WrestleMania or something like that type of stage. But I agree. I have to be fair and consistent about this, because if I'm pointing out issues with refereeing from AEW, I gotta point this out too. You're just making your referees look stupid when you constantly interfere. I'm telling you, man, Sasha and Bayley would be great performers for AEW because they don't adhere or care about any rules,
Sure.
whether it's their tag team matches or singles matches. You know how you could have got out of that whole scenario without even having to put the referee shirt on?
How's that?
You have Bayley on the ring apron just exactly the same way that Sasha was in the SmackDown title match. Asuka, the referee's right there. They're having a standoff. Asuka starts spinning the green mist. Bayley does that way. It hits the referee. He starts ringing the bell from there.
Right.
Asuka gets disqualified, but Sasha and Bayley run away with the title. Like, Sasha steals the title from Asuka and she brings it to the show the next night. If you wanted to do something like that, and then somebody's like, "Hey, we're gonna have a rightful winner the following week," you could. That's how I would have done it.
Yeah, I like that because
this is not the first time this has happened where mistime bells have been rung by time officials, even though there wasn't a. I remember the Brock Lesnar Undertaker match from SummerSlam a few years ago. Got a lot of crap for that finish. I don't know. It was what it was. I don't know. Like, you can't make your referees look stupid. And yeah, I understood what Bayley is saying about her being the role model, but I don't know about role model. I'm gonna pretend that I'm something that I'm not and just do the cover like that.
The only role model in wrestling currently works for AEW. We'll get to that here in a little bit, because we need to have some role model appreciation day. when we get to that part of the show.
Absolutely.
But no, Josh, I actually like that. I like that idea a lot because it keeps the like you said, like why would the referee not immediately ring the bell after Asuka shot mist in his eyes? It's easy to just go, ring the bell, because you can yell ring the bell without, having to go down in a big heap of not knowing what's going on. So I agree with you. It made the ref look weak. It made the ref look unimportant. It was just a weird finish.
Yeah. With that being said, so many people use that finish as a reason why the show sucked. And this happens a lot with a lot of pay-per-views these days. Whether a fan favorite doesn't win a match or there's a weird finish that they don't agree with. Oh, that's it. The show sucks.
Right.
Nothing else on the show matters. Like, come on, guys. It's not really that. It's not really that black and white. Right. But overall, I thought Extreme Rules was solid.
Yeah.
For what it was, I give it a B-. I'm not gonna come here and say, "Oh, it was a great pay-per-view." Like it was what it was. It was a solid show, and more importantly, we talk about this a lot when we go from a big show to the next big show. We have pit stops, plot points. That's basically all the horror show was,
and that's gonna set up everything for the slam of the summer coming up in about a month or so, which I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a good show.
Speaking of big summertime events, Impact Wrestling had their second biggest show of the year this past Saturday night called Slammiversary, if you will. Believe it or not, folks, the 18th anniversary of Slammiversary. By the way, WrestleMania 18 was in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Slammiversary 18 was in Nashville, even though Impact is owned by a Canadian company, so I want to tie those two together. It's ironic how certain things play out in that fashion, but so we're here this portion. I'm going to talk about Slammiversary and run down the card for this weekend's New Japan event. Then we'll get into some stuff that went down from Raw and SmackDown, and then we'll get into the segment, the most requested segment outside of the thoughts of Derico in podcasting. Okay,
podcasting history, Josh. All of wrestling, not even just wrestling podcasting, just podcasts in general. The most requested segment besides the thoughts of Derico. The best.
I know that you missed. I know you missed Slammiversary, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the Good Brothers joining Impact and also the other returns and signings that they made over the past week or so.
I was thinking about this actually, and I went on because I knew some stuff was going to go down, and I went on YouTube and I watched not only the return of the Good Brothers and of EC3, Eric Young, the Motor City Machine Guns, all of them coming back to Impact Wrestling. And actually, Josh, I like all of them. I think Impact is a perfect home for all of them because that's where all of them made their name. If you think about it, you've got Anderson and Gallows. Well, mostly Gallows, but now Anderson's involved with the Good Brothers. Gallows was involved with the Aces and Eights storyline and everything with that. Eric Young as a part of Team Canada and doing his whole the whole goofy, insane gimmick that really worked for him in Impact. So I think that that's going to be great for him. EC3 obviously made his name as Ethan Carter III in Impact. So I thought that was great. The Motor City Machine Guns, I actually thought were a great tag team. I used to watch TNA when I had more time about 6, 7, 8 years ago. That point in my life, I had more time to watch wrestling. And so I was able to watch TNA. Well, and now because I would watch TNA because there was no AEW. TNA was the only real alternative back then. So I would watch that, and I'd watch the Motor City Machine Guns and Eric Young, who I thought was very talented. I loved the Aces and Eights storyline. I thought that was one of the best storylines of the 2010s. I hated the way it ended, but I thought the actual build-up to Bully Ray becoming president was terrific. So, but all I say, I think that all of those talent, the Good Brothers, EC3, Eric Young, the Motor City Machine Guns, Impact is the perfect home for them, and they can help to make that brand even more legitimate than what it is today. So I think it's great for that company.
I talked about this a little bit on Hoodie's show the other night that my takeaway, not only with the pay-per-view, but just the signings, is that Impact has capitalized on the buzz they've been receiving So many times this happened over the years, and always when the follow through has to come, that's when the backstage issues start popping up, the dysfunction in management and other bad press that Impact usually gets hinders any progress or momentum they build. And I felt like they capitalized it not only with the signs that they made, but also the show as a whole on Saturday. But again, like you made the perfect point, because you with the people that went to Impact, that went back or got signed, they fit perfectly for what that company is. And so I know that there's a lot of people on the WWE roster, and people expect every person that gets signed to get a push, but it doesn't really work out that way. Not everyone can have a push. I'll address this since it's the elephant in the room. I saw the whole Naomi deserves better hashtag on Twitter the other day. And while I am a big fan of Naomi and I enjoy covering her matches, I don't believe anybody deserves anything. It's all about what you earn. And would I like to see more out of her than what she's doing right now? Of course. But I just think the concept of deserves more, and everything about wrestling now is always so centered around booking. I think that's kind of hit and miss, because when do we get to the point where performers are hindering their own booking? And we don't know that either. So
Triple H always says, all you have to do is go out and win them over. You go out and win them over, you'll always have a job. So, well, there's some truth to that. Now,
to
obviously,
a certain extent, yeah.
Right, because you also have to be able to perform really well. And so, and you've seen performers over the years where they've been over, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And there could be things behind the scenes that we know about. The biggest example to me is Damien Sandow. Damien Sandow with the stunt double gimmick was hilarious. And every week the crowd popped for Sandow, and that was awesome. But
I'm afraid I got some bad news.
There's another one. Yeah, there's another one. Like, he got over too. And for whatever reason, those two, like, WWE just didn't feel that they were going to work out. But then, of course, Sandow goes to Impact, and you saw how good that worked out for him there.
Oh God, don't remind me of that time period, please. All right, let's let me run down the pay-per-view real quick so we don't drag the salam here. First match show was the return of the Motor City Machine Guns. They took on the Rascals. Very good tag team match. Motor City Machine Guns went on to win. Not only did they win on Saturday, they also became a brand new Impact World Tag Team Champions on Impact this week. So congratulations to those guys. I'll tie this in as well. I thought the match that the North had with Sammy Callahan and Ken Shamrock was pretty good. Man, for the stuff that Ken Shamrock's doing at the age of 56 is really impressive to me. But he's not fully embarrassing himself in the ring, but I thought he actually hold himself to a good standard on Saturday night. And I think the North are probably the most underrated tag team in wrestling. As much as praise that people give FTR, you could give the same amount of praise to the North, because they can wrestle just about the same way those guys do, and even better in some occasions. I think Josh Alexander, Canadian, also Ethan Page, Canadian, very talented tag team. And, I'm very happy to see their success. I saw them in the AAW promotion here in Chicago, the independent promotion, when they were called the Monster Mafia, and just very happy for their success. And I like their tattoo, so I hope they get some more buzz and appreciation, because they're one of the best tag teams in the world. One thing I did not like on this show was Moose against Tommy Dreamer. I have all the respect in the world for Tommy Dreamer, but the TNA World Heavyweight Extreme Rules match, whatever the hell you wanted to call it, was not necessary. Think about having a Extreme Rules match with nobody there. I mean, we have NXT performers around with plexiglass now, but picture nobody there and just having a random match with Moose, who doesn't go fast paced or anything like that. It's just a recipe for disaster. But Moose is still your TNA World Heavyweight Champion. I wasn't really crazy about the Gauntlet match, but the the knockouts, they do have a good knockouts division. Highly raised your new number one contender for that championship. Speaking of that champion, we have a new champion. Deonna Purrazzo made Jordan Grace tap out to the pass out, actually, to the Fujiwara armbar. She is your brand new Impact Knockouts champion. So that was probably my favorite match of the show. If you want my thoughts, Burkhart, if there's one match to recommend besides the main event, it would be Deonna Purrazzo and Jordan Grace. That match was fantastic. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I remember Deonna Purrazzo from NXT, and I always thought she was very, very, very talented. Yes. So I'm glad that she's. I was very sad when she got released from NXT. That was one of the more surprising releases. Was Deonna Purrazzo. But
yeah, she's very good when it comes to the in-ring aspects and technical abilities in the ring, and she's fantastic. I would say she has a good waterfall, but she looks a lot like my sister, and I can't do it. I can't.
And out of respect for your sister, Josh, I'm going to let that one go as well. But I'm glad that Deonna Purrazzo has found a home. I hope she has a long. I don't know how long she's going to be in Impact Wrestling, but I think. Congratulations to her winning the Knockouts Championship. I think that's great.
Yeah. Also, we had another new champion. This is a very eventful show. I thought this was one of the better Impact / TNA pay-per-views that they've done in the last couple of years. So I'm really happy for the crew down there, and Scott D'Amore, Jimmy Jacobs, and Don Callis deserve a lot of credit and praise for what they pulled off on Saturday night. Chris Bay, a guy that slipped out of AEW's fingers. He is the brand new Impact X Division champion. He defeated Willie Mack on the show. And then the main event, this is a tremendous fatal 5-way elimination match to crown the brand new Impact World Champion. You had Trey Miguel from the Rascals, who did one of the sickest Canadian destroyers I've ever seen in my life. This has been a very Canadian heavy podcast so far. I've been
oh gosh, more people need more from the great country of Canada.
Yes. Trey Miguel did this thing where he glides out of the ring. Burke Carter is called a power slide. He slides out of the ring and does a Canadian destroyer on the floor.
Oh wow, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure the gifs out there for people who want to check out the clip. Trey Miguel's a tremendous athlete, so that was a fun match to jot down. It was Eddie Edwards, Ace Austin, probably my favorite wrestler in Impact Wrestling right now. Ace Austin's, for a guy who's 23 years old, this dude could be a future world champion. This guy has everything you want out of a performer, and I love watching him wrestle. The match was awesome. Seeing Eric Young come back to Impact was great. He still has this lunatic character that he had beforehand, and it was just a really good physical match. Eddie Edwards is your brand new Impact World Champion, and I think that was probably the rightful decision because beforehand it was supposed to be him against Michael Elgin and Tessa Blanchard at Revolution. Rebellion.
Rebellion, because Revolution was the AEW. Yeah.
Rebellion was the show they were trying to promote back in what was it? April,
I think.
Yeah, that was supposed to be their last pay-per-view, and then obviously, Tessa got stuck in Mexico to the point where she got fired. And unfortunately, Michael Elgin got lumped into the Speak Out movement, and that's why he got let go from the company. And Eddie and Elgin were having a really good rivalry on their shows. One of the main reasons to watch the show during that time period. And Eddie, more than anybody, has probably been the most consistent performer in Impact Wrestling over the last 5 years and kind of been like the glue guy, if you will. So I thought that was a good decision. Whether he's the face of Impact of Wrestling or not, I don't know. I could see it'd be a valid reason to say that it would be a valid argument to say that Eddie Edwards could be the face of Impact Wrestling. And I wouldn't have a problem with that. But again, go check out that fatal 5-way match. And then we saw at the end the flash of EC3 and channeling his inner Josh Lopez and reminding everybody to control your narrative. Right. You heard it right here. Be the authentic product that is yourself. So I'm glad that EC3 is watching and listening to the show. So All right, that's my thoughts on Slammiversary. And then before we get into Raw and SmackDown this week, let's talk a little bit about New Japan Pro Wrestling, the king of sports in Japan. Or Dave Meltzer's greatest favorite promotion.
But by the way, Josh, when are you, I believe you have a rant to go on. When is that going to take place?
Oh God, I don't know. Really, it's gonna be a full rant where I'm gonna be popping blood vessels. I don't want to disappoint people and do a half-fast rant. I just got a couple things I need to get off my chest about those guys. Okay, so really quick, 1 second. I'm pulling this up. If you guys need some content on the weekend to watch, there's a new thing called Lions Break Collision that New Japan does. There's websites to catch up with these shows if you don't have the time or the money to pay for these streams. They're out there. You can find these shows that you want to watch. Go check out shows called Lions Break Collision. They air it on New Japan World or the other sites that are out there. And they focus a lot on the younger talent in the dojo system. So every time you would watch a New Japan show, you always see a match start off with young lions just running in the ring. They got black trunks. They're basically the trainees. And it's kind of a cool spotlight to know them and those who are stepping out of that system as well. I like the concept of what they're doing. And shout out to Dave Marquez, because I kind of felt bad with NWA being on the shutdown just due to the whole virus stuff. Like, I've been missing a lot of NWA content. And Dave Marquez helps produce that show for New Japan because Dave is I think he's the promoter of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, which is associated with the NWA. So shout out to Dave Marquez. He's very talented. All right. Enough jibber jabber for me. Let's get back to business. Sengoku Lore, like I was mentioning earlier.
A great name, by the way. That's a great name.
Coming up July 25th this Saturday. I'll have that transcript for you guys on ProWrestlingTranscripts.com. Starting out the show, Taiji Ishimura against Yua Uemura, one of the young lions there. That's the first match. Really quick, there on Monday, this past Monday before Raw, I did a show that had 6 tag matches. An entire show of tag matches. Think about that, guys. It's so interesting trying to process New Japan Pro Wrestling because they don't do promos. Everything is through matches and tag matches and preview matches. All right, here we go. Naito, Sanada, and Bushi from LIJ taking on Chaos members Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi, and Sho from Roppongi 3K. Fourth match is it's actually a 10-man tag. We got Suzuki Gun against Ibushi, Tanahashi, Nagata, Tenzan, and the returning Master Wato, who used to be Hirai Kato, a former young lion. And Master Wato has a new gimmick. He has blue hair. It's kind of a little interesting thing. I give him props. Trying to do something out of the box, Okada has a single match against Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Pimp, as he likes to call himself. That should be an interesting match. A good singles opportunity for Mr. Takahashi. Shingo, one of my favorite wrestlers in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Shingo Takagi will be taking on El Desperado in a never open weight championship match. And then finally the main event, double championship match. Evil, the new champion, the guy who turned on LIJ to join Bullet Club, he's taking on his former mate Hiromu Takahashi, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion as well. Yeah. So that's coming up this Saturday. Check it out. Bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. Pal. So we transition to the next part. I'll let Brett Carr start off with this. We're going to break down what happened this week in WWE, and then we'll get into AEW. So, Brett Carr, go ahead. What stood out to you from Raw or SmackDown this week?
Well, really, all I want to talk about from SmackDown this week is this week's SmackDown obviously led up into Extreme Rules, with the only exception, of course, being AJ Styles and Matt Riddle closing the show. They had another great contest. Matt and Josh, I said this to you. We talked about this before. Matt Riddle is a star. Matt Riddle is a superstar. There's no question. He's got the look. He's great in the ring. I love his entrance music. The bro. The dun, 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 dun.
I love it. It's
great.
Can you do that? Can you do the little strut thing he does?
I know if you're listening to this, you can't see me, but if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see me. I'm trying to be a baller, but I'm not.
You're not MVP for sure.
I tell people there's a reason I joined the band and I play the drums because I shouldn't be dancing. But but I thought that was a great match, and I really like the pairing of Matt Riddle and King Corbin. I think they could have some great. They're gonna have a great match at SummerSlam, so I think that's going to be absolutely terrific. But Matt Riddle is a star, so that to me stood out from SmackDown. Do you want to say anything about that, and then we'll get into Raw?
Yeah. We did mention the Braun Strowman promo from the beginning of the show. We really enjoyed that. SmackDown had a couple of matches. We had the Nikki Cross. What was that a tag match? No, it was Nikki Cross and Asuka against Bayley and Sasha, right?
Yeah, that was a good match too.
That's a good match. That's the other takeaway. But yes, when Matt Riddle and AJ Styles ripped it up. I'll say this. You can't give Matt Riddle everything right off the bat, so I think it's a good choice to have King Corbin be the first guy to feud with Matt Riddle. So that was my thoughts on SmackDown. Hey, can we lump NXT into this?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, cool. Before we get to NXT, let's talk about Raw.
Okay,
go ahead.
Raw. I thought Raw was a great show, top to bottom. I think I tweeted this out, but I could see, I mentioned earlier that Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio are probably on just having a wrestling match at SummerSlam. But if they wanted to give Aleister Black and Seth Rollins more time at SummerSlam,
yes,
I would be completely fine with that because that was a great match from Raw. Aleister Black is one of those, and I know, Josh, you've been a huge Aleister Black. You and I got to see him live at TakeOver New Orleans when we were for that. But Aleister Black is one of those talents that at a moment's notice, you could throw him into anything and he would be just fine. Of course, you could say that about I say you could say that about Murphy too, because Murphy has just come into his own.
Oh, he's tremendous. He can do everything that Kenny Omega does.
Yes.
But go ahead.
And then, of course, what can you say about Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens? I mean, both are just. I mean, that whole. I was sad we didn't see Humberto Carrillo this week, but because I think Carrillo is a tremendous performer as well.
Didn't they take him out with then Rollins jam his face?
Did he? I can't remember. You know who else we haven't seen for a while, Josh, and is Austin Theory. We haven't seen Austin Theory for a while. So I don't know if he's just been sick or injured or.
I don't know what the situation is, to be honest with you. I've been trying my best to stay out of the loop as far as speculations and stuff like that. But if it's something personal and he needs time off, then more respect him. Obviously.
Absolutely. But all the performers involved with that storyline are top-notch performers, and they've been just terrific the whole time. So I really enjoyed that. And I know how. Go ahead.
No, I was. I saw this thing on Twitter before we came on air today. Really quick? This is not wrestling related. What do you think about the NHL team in Seattle?
Oh gosh, I don't know much about
the Krakens. I think that's their name.
Oh jeez, I don't know if I would go with that name, but I haven't seen that story. But I'll have to look that up.
By the way, can we bring back the freaking Supersonics? Come on, man.
Yeah. Man, that's still one of my favorite segments when Elias and Kevin Owens trashed the Super. It's like having a basketball team in Seattle and the crowd just went nuts. That was awesome. I remember that. That was great. That was great.
To Piggy, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I don't know if you want to get into this next, but I was very happy that Mustafa Ali is back on Raw. I was very, very happy about that. So tremendous. I kind of like it. It looks like him and Alexander are going to be the breakouts from 205 Live, and that's great. I was very happy about that. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, let's add Buddy Murphy to that equation as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, of course.
To piggyback what you mentioned with Seth Rollins in the beginning of the show, I thought Rollins cut one of his best promos of the year so far on Monday, and he's just, I mentioned a lot about what Randy Orton's doing. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes, but Seth Rollins is just killing it on all cylinders right now when it comes to his promos. And the match with Aleister Black was tremendous. I agree. I like to see that match on the pay-per-view for SummerSlam. I'm all for it. Aleister Black can get his revenge there.
Yes,
that'll work there. I'm a big advocate of the Hurt business. That's permeating through the Raw brand right now. Big things are popping and little things are stopping. And I'm really hoping that MVP could stick around as long as he could. And I kind of hope the Hurt business lasts when they get fans back in the arena too, because I want to hear the reactions.
By the way, I read that this was Shelton Benjamin's first win on Raw in 14 years.
Oh,
when he won the 24/7 championship, that was his first win on Raw in 14 years.
I know Mia Yim's laughing about that right now. Oh God!
The only thing that the Hurt business needs, I think, Josh, is a younger superstar, like kind of like the Evolution thing, where you have the more established guys, or the Inner Circle. You have some established performers, then you're bringing in new people. So I hope at some point a young talent will join the Hurt business. Like, honestly, I think Cedric Alexander would be great. Ricochet, I think, works better as a face, but I think Cedric Alexander as a heel could work great in the Hurt business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely see either one or them turning on each other, or maybe they just both join the group. You never know.
That could be too. Yeah, I like that too. But I'm so happy I think that the MVP is. This is the best MVP we've seen in his career, no question.
What if this thing with Apollo Crews is just a ruse and Apollo Crews actually joins the group?
I'd be okay with that also. Actually, I just but one of those, you've got to have a younger performer.
I agree
to join the more established veterans. They can groom this person.
I agree with that. It was great to see MILF Waterfall on the show Monday in the form of Stephanie Man. Nice to see her grace us with her presence this year. So Stephanie made the announcement that Sasha and Asuka will have a match next week, and if Bayley gets involved or any of the other stipulations that can occur in a WWE match, if Bayley gets involved, Sasha will lose the match. So maybe we can finally get into the steam of them having issues with each other, and then they go back to SmackDown and having their long-awaited feud that I wish could get done and over with. They could go to different, so they could split and go into different brands. But
yes,
go ahead.
I could also see Shayna Baszler coming in and costing Sasha the match, which would give Asuka the Raw Championship, and then that sets up Raw I could see that sets up Asuka versus Shayna Baszler for SummerSlam. I could see that too.
Here's how I would do it. I'd have. Oh man, this is gonna be very interesting with what happened at Extreme Rules. I have a feeling that Sasha and Bayley are gonna find a way to pay off the ref to do a fast count on Asuka. But Stephanie Man will probably sniff it out and say, you can't. If they want to extend it out, I don't know. That's just an idea. This stuff to look out for in case it throws you out of the loop next week. But I do think Asuka will find a way to beat Sasha. But please, after the match, have Shayna Baszler attack Asuka. That's all I ask. Yeah. And speaking of Baszler, she did a tremendous job on Raw Talk this week. I thought she was fantastic on there. So
she's another superstar. Shayna Baszler has got star material written all over her. There's no question about it. She's fantastic. I was happy to see Ruby Riott get a win against Peyton Royce. That was cool. Peyton Royce, my God, that down under waterfall. Good.
Shawn Spears did very well for himself. Yes.
Absolutely. Oh, I didn't. Did you say Shawn Spears? I didn't realize they were a couple.
They're married, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. Huh. Well, there you go. See, not even I read the dirt sheets all the time, Josh. I didn't know that, but good job, Shawn Spears.
I only found that out on Instagram. Okay. Anyways, Randy Orton and Big Show. This was my favorite part of the show on Monday. Yep. The promos that Randy Orton and Big Show cut before the match and everything they did to go into that unsanctioned match. me personally, I didn't think they needed the unsanctioned stipulation, but I understood why they did it with the Christian and also that's going on with Edge. But man, that if you want an example of what pro wrestling is and being an effective heel, that what you saw Monday night was just that. I put it on Twitter. I told Brother Carter about it. I think right now Randy Orton is the best wrestler in the quarantine world, and he's the guy that's, in my opinion, maximized the most of everything he's doing on the mic, storytelling wise, in the ring, of every show that I watched throughout the week. And man, I'm just it's this really shitty backdrop feeling that you like. What would be the actual gauge of what Randy Orton's doing if we had a live audience? You know,
right.
Like it's just that sickening feeling trying to figure out what's over and what's not. And I think we talked about this last week. I think a lot of people are still trying to view wrestling through the same playbook and expecting it to have the same feel when it's not the case. And man, I'm just loving everything that Randy Orton's doing right now. And yeah, that may be a hot take that Randy Orton's the best wrestler in the world right now, but objectively, I think he is right now.
Well, and it's unfortunate, again, it's just everybody, and I'm starting to feel this too. Everybody is having to deal with something with the coronavirus. It's just something that's either inconvenient in your life or just like, God, man, this sucks. Like, like look at Drew McIntyre. Like he didn't get to have his WrestleMania moment. He hasn't had a chance to be the WWE champion in front of a live crowd, and he's certainly. I think I saw you retweeted this, Josh. Mick Foley even said, dude, McIntyre has been holding his own, and he's been holding the company together, which is true. McIntyre's been just doing a fantastic job as WWE champion during these trying times, and I hope that he gets to keep the title long enough so that he'll get to have at least a small reaction in front of fans. Or if he has to lose it, that he'll win it again at another WrestleMania or something like that. But we're all having to struggle a little bit and just say, God, this sucks. I miss life as normal. So,
well, what do you think about Orton and Big Show?
I enjoyed that. I think that was exactly right. This is probably going to take Big Show off television for a little while, which is fine. Orton's doing the Legend Killer gimmick. I'm sure that's going to set up him versus McIntyre at SummerSlam, which I think it could be a great match. I think that's going to be a wonderful match. But I agree with you. Orton's promo, and both Orton and Big Show's promos were just fantastic. Orton he's a Hall of Famer performer. There's obviously a reason why he's been one of the mainstays of the company for almost 20 years. He's just an incredible performer. It's hard to argue who's the quote unquote best wrestler in the world right now, but Orton is certainly in that conversation. I would suggest Bray Wyatt's part of that conversation. Heck, I could suggest Drew McIntyre is part of that conversation. Seth Rollins is part of that conversation. It's a subjective thing, but yes. Orton is doing incredible work right now. I thought the match was great. It was exactly what it needed to be, and I enjoyed it very much.
All right, I want to drop in a couple of questions here that I put out on Twitter. Ask for people if they want to send some questions. We'll start off first here with Tim. Check him out on Twitter. Name Dropper 500, I think, is his Twitter account.
Tim?
No, Name Dropper 5,000.
Name Dropper 5,000. Great.
There you go. Cool. Pretty cool dude. His question is, when do you think we'll get into the Seth Rollins Buddy Murphy program? And should that have been the feud following Rollins' WrestleMania match with Kevin Owens?
No, that should not have been the feud. I like Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins pairing. And when they added Austin Theory, I like that little mini stable there. I could see us getting that feud either probably in the fall, this coming fall, I would say, if they can hold it out that long, or leading up into the Royal Rumble, because I could see them having a match at the Royal Rumble for sure. I'll be very curious to see where we are in the world if we can do live fans, because what would a Royal Rumble in the Performance Center look like? I had just thought about that. Or do you do a gimmick Royal Rumble? kind of, a pre-produced.
I hope that doesn't happen.
I hope it doesn't either, because I could see that not working out so well. But to answer the question, Josh, I think either this coming fall or perhaps leading into the Royal Rumble.
I'm not sure a perfect timetable for that feud, but when it does happen, I think it's going to be awesome, and I can't wait to jot those matches down. Those are going to be a lot of fun to watch.
That's going to be great.
So I'm looking forward to that. The other question, and I'll hit it mostly on this one because it's directed towards me. Shout out to King Ajar.
Our good friend King Ajar, man. Hope you're doing well, King. Thanks for being such a supporter over the years.
Yeah, it's King Ajar is the man. Very, very talented dude and just a good person. So
absolutely.
He wanted to give my thoughts indefinitely on why I'm personally a detractor of the Bayley Sasha Banks program right now. And I just wanted the floor to expand on it and just have the context and just let everybody know every time we talk about this, because I think me and you have been very consistent, just our stance on what they've been doing with them and just the overexposure they're having through all these shows over the last couple months or so. And again, this is not a stance on my feelings on them as a person or anything like that. These are very talented women for what they do. And I talked about it a little bit with King HR on Twitter, and I'll expand it on here. Like, for me, my fundamental issue with this is just trying to reignite something that I don't think is going to have the same energy that it did 5 years ago. And the sad part about it, the main reason behind that is because there's not an audience there. And that was so much of what made Bayley and Sasha special at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. My issue is I don't buy realistically as a box office thing of having a heel Bayley against a babyface or a gray area character Sasha Banks. I just don't see it myself. That's not to say they can't have good matches with each other. They can't have a long feud or anything like that. I just don't see it working out. And for me personally, it's just one of those situations where I'd rather have them get into the feud and get it over with. And more importantly, for both Sasha and Bayley, and I can enjoy them more, I wish they were on separate brands. I honestly think that's my biggest issue, and the constant teases. And this also goes on to the WWE as well. It's not just Bayley and Sasha that I'm talking about here. It's the constant teases over the years. Back in 2018, we thought they were going to fight each other at WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans. That didn't happen. Other teases after that. It's just, I wanted to get it over with. I really do. I'm over the Bayley and Sasha stuff. I've been very consistent with how I feel about the Bayley heel character. I think it sucks, to be honest with you. Her wrestling is good to a certain extent, but there's also times where she's really sloppy and just running around doing axe handle strikes just for the hell of it. When it comes to Sasha, I like what she does in her promos. She has everything she wants. She has everything you can possess as far as it and being box office and being a mainstream star. The issue that comes with Sasha sometimes when people misconstrue where I'm pointing out, I'm not saying that Sasha can't be considered the face of women's wrestling. I just think that Charlotte Flair is the better wrestler. And that's just my opinion.
Woo!
And again, all this stuff's subjective. If you think Charlotte sucks and you think she's boring, that's your prerogative. I completely understand that. And that's not a slight on Sasha. I just think Charlotte is the better performer. But I think Sasha can really make some waves for herself. And if WWE pulls the trigger this time and actually let her have a long title run, I think she could do something well. But when you have Bayley lurking the shadows, I think honestly, King HR, I think Bayley puts a governor. I haven't used this term in a while. I think Bayley puts a governor on how good Sasha Banks could really be on television. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, Josh, I agree with everything you said. I really like what you said about Sasha could be the face of a women's division. There's no question. You're right. She has the total package. I think she's good in the ring. I think she has a great look. I think that she's good on the microphone, cuts great promos when she needs to. I think the boss could be the face of the division, but I agree with you. Charlotte Flair is just elite level talent. Her and Asuka, and I've said this before on this show, I think that her and Asuka have separated themselves as the two elite women's performers, not just in WWE, but in the world. I mean, they are two elite performers. And that's not a knock at anybody else in the women's division. I mean, like Sasha's talented, Bayley's talented. When Becky Lynch comes back, she is a monster in the best way possible. She's great. I mean, you look at the women's division. Look at the NXT women's division. I mean, you've got some great performers down there as well. But I agree with you, Josh. And the problem is, I agree with you that Bayley and Sasha are always – I have this feeling they're always going to be linked together somehow and not have a chance to – now, Sasha had a chance to be on her own when she did all that stuff with Charlotte Flair. You know, when they main evented Hell in a Cell, they main evented they had their history back in 2018, I think it was.
Yes. Let me say that really quick. I do believe there was a missed opportunity for having Sasha be the first one to win at WrestleMania 32. I understood why Charlotte won, but I thought there'd be other potential to get things going for the women's division. Like, you could still have the same momentum for the women's division with Sasha winning at WrestleMania 32 as Charlotte did. Right. Because Charlotte already ended Nikki Bella's historic title run. Charlotte didn't need that extra added thing, but that's just semantics. We don't really need to. That's not what we really do here on this show. So
right. But everything you said, Josh, I agree with you, and I would like to see them on separate brands and have their own separate feuds, because I don't want them to be, fortunately, it's like with John. I always come back to the John Cena Randy Orton comparison. Like, those two were together for a long, long time. Now they eventually split off and did their own thing, and that's great. And I hope Sasha and Bayley do that, because you can always throw them together if you need to in a pinch, and it works either as friends or as foes. It's an easy way to if you need something, you can always put them together. Just like when same thing with Charlotte and Becky Lynch. It's real easy when Becky Lynch comes back. It's really easy to put them together if you need to in a pinch. So I agree with everything you said, and I hope to see them on separate brands eventually as well.
Yeah.
I want to mention one more thing, Josh, with the women's division from Raw. And that's, unfortunately, I think we're seeing the end of Kairi Sane, which hurts me, because you know how much I enjoy Kairi Sane, not only for the Kairi Sane waterfall, but I think as an in-ring performer, she's fantastic. But I've heard rumors that this is going to be, she's coming to the end of her run, that this coming Monday will be her final set of tapings with the company, and she's going to return to Japan, which, if that's what she wants to do, more power to her. I know she's leaving WWE on good terms, and there's always opportunity for her to come back if she needs to. I hope that those rumors end up being false. Yeah, I've heard that that's coming, and I'm very sad about that, because I think the world of Kairi Sane. I think she's fantastic. What do you think about that?
I'm kind of bummed out for her, but again, respect to her wishes and what she wants to do with her life. Obviously, more family and stuff is more important in this time than just individual success and stuff. So, what a way to go out, right? What a way to have a final match like that, She pinned the SmackDown Women's Champion in her final match. Just saying. So if they ever need to bring her back, if she ever wants to come back, you can easily throw her in her title picture, because, like, my last match here, I pinned the SmackDown Women's Champion. Like, why don't I deserve a title match? Because either that, or they're going to give her because you have Asuka versus Sasha. You could very easily give Kairi Sane a title match, and then they just beat her down, and that's how you write her off of television. So you could do that too, and that also if they're going to up Bayley's game, they could also do that as well. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm sad to be losing Kairi Sane, and we certainly wish her all the best if this ends up being the truth and she ends up going back to Japan. If that's what she wants to do with her life, awesome, and we certainly wish her all the best. The Pirate Princess, love it. Yes. All right, before we get to our favorite segment of the week,
do we want to cover the good things first and then go into the segment, or what do you want to do? Because or is there anything else you want to do before we get into AEW? Because I actually thought AEW by and large was a good show this week.
I guess we could do that's the thing with just like spacing out formatting and stuff like that. It's just a little different process. Sure. I don't know. It's I guess I usually like lumping it just into one full segment, but either way, up to you. That's fine.
That's fine. Well, and the reason I ask is because the reason I asked just for this week is because I thought AEW by and large was actually a terrific show this week. There was some really great action this week. I thought the storylines evolved really well. So I did make a few notes of things that I didn't like, but overall, I thought AEW was actually a good show this week. And Josh, one thing I did want to ask you about kicking off AEW this week, we had Cody defending his TNT championship against Eddie Kingston. And I don't know much about Eddie Kingston. What I saw on AEW this week, I was not impressed. I was like, who is this guy? He's an 18-year veteran. He's kind of not great. But you were telling me that he's an elite talent. So can you educate me on Eddie Kingston?
If you look at past performers in wrestling history, like a Dick Murdoch or Stan Hansen and maybe like a Terry Gordy, if you will, pal. A lot of those guys that don't have a 6 foot frame, chiseled abs, wherever. Eddie Kingston is a very talented wrestler for what he does. I've been a big fan of his since the first time I saw him perform at AEW here in Chicago in 2013. I've had a chance to interview Eddie on my old Pro Wrestling Experience radio show back in the day, and I've just been a big fan of his since getting to watch his work, the stuff he did in Impact. I thought Eddie was doing some tremendous work with the NWA before he got this opportunity with AEW, and Eddie Kingston's about that life, and everything he was conducting himself, he wasn't pretending to be a thug guy or a tough guy or anything like that. That dude is a real badass in real life, and he's one of the most genuine wrestlers I've ever seen in the wrestling business in a while, and I'm just happy for his success, for him to be on the national platform like that. Of course, we have Cody Rhodes, which will damper any TNT title mood that I have for any of those matches, but nonetheless, that's why I was happy to see him. Yeah,
at least an 18-year veteran got a shot at the TNT championship, and not a 6-9 Sonny Kiss.
We're making progress.
Yeah, we gotta give credit where credit is due. So that was really good. Okay, Josh, I know we talk about this all the time, but AEW has to build their company around MJF. Every week, MJF just continues to get better and better. To me, MJF is one of my favorite professional wrestlers in the world right now. Not just in AEW, but in the world. I think he's a great wrestler. God, his look is good. Man, on the microphone, he's one of the best. I love all that stuff he was doing with Griff Garrison was hilarious. He was mocking him during the match. It was great. So I love me some MJF. AEW needs to build the company around MJF. They have to. If they want any longevity, and that's one of my issues, and we'll get into that when we get into our segment. But if they want some longevity, they have to build their own stars. They have to build MJF as one of their stars.
MJF is a national treasure.
Yes. Agreed. You and I talked about this, Josh. Can we just give some love and have just this week on episode 215? Can we just call this Britt Baker Appreciation Podcast?
Yes,
because
anytime there's a Britt Baker appearance on AEW, there will be a Britt Baker Appreciation Day on the following day for the show.
Absolutely, she is gold. I love everything she does. She is the role model, not Bayley. She is the role model of women's wrestling. Is Britt Baker? She's fabulous. I love her.
She may not be Michael Jordan, but she's fantastic.
Her interactions with Schiavone and with her helper is yeah. No, I love it when she passes Shivani notes during the broadcast. It's so great. Yeah. I love Britt Baker. I can't wait till she's back in the ring. She was great.
Really quick, the power bomb on the thumbtack spot was pretty nasty.
That was nasty. I don't know how I feel about that. Do they really need to bring my question was, is that Eddie Kingston's gimmick? Is he more of the deathmatch style kind of competitor? He's
not much of a deathmatch hardcore wrestler, but he does have hardcore matches here and there.
Okay.
But here's some of the stuff that I enjoyed on the show. They announced that they're having a deadly draw cup tournament where they're having women's tag team wrestlers go against each other. This is not for a new title. This is not for anything. This is just a cup. This is based on competition. So I'm hoping that the women in AEW could actually apply some tag team rules and hold tag ropes and have some logical tag outs. I like that announcement. I'm really curious to see who's in the field. It's going to be a 16 women tournament, which means we'll have 4 teams. Right? No, 8 teams. 8 teams, yes.
8 teams, yes. Well, do you think, Josh, this could be kind of like a Mae Young Classic where they have an invitational and they try to bring in some new talent?
It's not a bad idea. I could see something like that. Yeah, for sure. Hey, the more I get to see Penelope Ford on my TV screen, the better it is. So, some people are going to be surprised when I say this, but I actually enjoyed the Young Bucks Falls Count Anywhere match with the Butcher and the Candlestick Maker.
Oh, that's great. I like that. They'll never be as good as the Butchers from Southpaw Regional Wrestling, but they will try.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's funny. They're actually reuniting in Impact.
Are they really?
Yeah, Heath Slater and Rhino, yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. There's another one. Heath Slater in Impact Wrestling. That's
just a one-man band. That's a great song.
Yeah, that's great. The only thing I didn't like about that match, Josh, and we'll get into that when we get into the segment, is they wasted food during a pandemic. Come on, man.
I thought the Raw team won the match, but I enjoyed the match for what it was.
The spot at the very end was really cool when they jumped off the stage through the tables. I thought that was kind of a cool spot.
The last thing for me that I enjoyed from AEW this week was Taz's promo with Brian Cage. Good enough explanation for what went down with the towel spot and trying to add some added credibility to Brian Cage. He said that Cage would never tap. He's not wired like that. That's why he has the FTW mindset. No excuses, just continue to go, stuff like that. So I thought that was good. I'd probably been too early for them to split up Taz and Brian Cage. I know we trashed the follow-up for Brody Lee after his match with Jon Moxley, and rightfully so, but hopefully this thing continues, and I like the addition of Ricky Starks with Taz and Brian Cage. Here's the one problem, and I'm keep this to the side from what we usually do because that's more comedy-based and more of my real issues, but I wish sometimes AEW does not expect for people to assume that they know everything that's going on with all their shows. So Ricky Starks joins Brian Cage and Taz on AEW Dark. They did show the graphics, so I give credit where credit's due. But sometimes with commentary, they just expect the audience at home to assume they know everything that's going on with AEW. And I understand that their show caters to hardcore marks and Meltzer dick comers, but it's just you can't expect everybody to understand everything about all these independent wrestlers, and we don't have that in the back of our head. We don't have that stuck in our catalog or our brain thresholds. So I like the pairing nonetheless. I like what they're doing, and again, I've been consistent about this since Taz has been cutting promos again, and he's been doing a wonderful job. So, shout out to you, Mr. Peter Sinercha, if that's your real name. No, that isn't his real name. I'm kidding.
That's funny. No, I like Ricky Starks with Taz and Brian Cage too. I think that could work. The little bit I've seen of Ricky Starks, he seems very talented. And he could be a great addition to that. I really like that. Some things that I liked, Josh, was I actually didn't mind the tag team match at the end of the show. I know you weren't a huge fan. We'll get to that in a minute. What I liked about it is it gets to show off Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, who I think are very talented. I always love when I get to see Jericho in the ring. I can't stand the interactions between him and Aubrey Edwards. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But overall, I thought the tag match was good. And I know we'll get into this too, but I actually am a fan of Hangman Adam Page. I think he's a very, very talented wrestler. He's one of my favorite. Just when you're from an in-ring performer standpoint, right. He's one of my favorites in AEW. He didn't do it, which I hated, but every time he does that buckshot lariat, that's nasty move. And so I'm a big fan of Hangman Adam Page, but we'll get into the other stuff. Any other things for the positive before we get into it?
No, I think it's time to give the people what they want. As
yes, they do. All right, here we go.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW?
I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of that song, Josh, but no. I'm going to let you start this week, man. What the hell is wrong with AEW?
Oh, boy, where do we start?
Okay, here's where we're going to start. Why is Jericho keeping calling himself the Demo God? When are they going to figure out ratings don't matter? Why do they consider why are they doing this? Oh, I cater to the 18 to 49 wrestling demographic. Nobody cares, man. Like, for as good as Le Champion is, and he is fantastic, why is he considered? Why? This is the second week in a row now. He's pushing himself as the Demo God, and ratings matter. I don't get it, man. Like, what we talked about this last week, Josh, and you said it yourself. Like, sometimes when you see these comments on Twitter, you just have to stop and go, wait, what? Is this really where they're going? And it looks like they're pushing the whole Demo God angle. I don't get it, man.
This all could loop back into what we talked about last week. Airbnb from 203 area code, it just lives rent free inside Daly's place. It's permeating throughout the entire area. Now we even had a audio example of how much WWE is inside AEW's head. And this kills me because I love JR. JR's the reason I became a wrestling fan in the first place outside The Undertaker. And why are you calling yourself a Demo God? And then here's JR a year ago talking to Chris Van Vliet, another great Canadian, by the way. It's Canadian episode, man. By the way, the Mounties, Breezango dresses the Mountie on NXT last night. Yes.
Love you.
Let me put a ribbon in the bows and these freaking Canadian shout outs. Shout out to Renee Young and Alicia to Tim Hortons Waterfall. So you get that out of the way as
well. Absolutely.
All right. So JR a year ago with Chris Van Vliet goes on a soliloquy saying that we shouldn't focus on WWE, and he said the assertion that AEW is going to put WWE out of business is ridiculous. The audio's there. Click the audio for JR's interview with Chris Van Vliet, and he says right there in the beginning, it's ridiculous. Now, on a post-game show, where he admits that he's drinking Crown Royal while the show's going on, so he was already tipsy. And you know how it is when people start drinking, shit comes out of their mouth that they're not actually believing and whatever. And he's going on a soliloquy about how they're arrogant. I played the clip for Brother Carter before we came on air, so I'm not making any of this stuff up. If I missed anything from what I said, from what I aired in that clip, Brother Carter, please let me know.
Mm-hmm.
They're arrogant. They're arrogant. They're oblivion to what's going on with AEW, and that. And then Taz went on saying that no, it's not that we're complaining. We're complaining about WWE. It's that we're transparent and we're not insulting your intelligence, and they're insulting your intelligence. So let me get this straight. Marco's stunt. or stunted growth. It's not supposed to insult my intelligence. The Dark Order.
Man, by the way, Josh, how's that Brody Lee push going after his match with Jon Moxley?
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time Brody Lee wrestled on AEW? Like, did he maybe on Dark? But like on Dynamite, their flagship show. When was the last time he wrestled and had a legit wrestling match? They were promoting him as, oh, he's going to be the savior of the Dark Order. He's the exalted one. What has he done since his mediocre match with Moxley?
You want to talk about
the Moxley Triple M? That's what Brody is, man. He's the Triple M. Mediocre match with Moxley.
Yeah, you want to talk about insulting my intelligence? How about the casino ladder match that we saw at Double or Nothing? We could list off examples since WWE is the only company that seems to not care about the self-respect for their audience or treat them like they're idiots or whatever. Hey, I like Orange Cassidy.
I do too.
But he's also another guy that insults intelligence.
And I'm with you, Josh. I love Orange Cassidy. He's one of my favorites in AEW. I think his gimmick is brilliant. But
the psychology in their tag team matches don't insult your intelligence. The fact that the referees are completely useless in AEW are insulting your intelligence. How about this? How about a power rankings and keeping wins and loss records that you don't adhere to, and somebody with a 69 record gets an AEW title shot on a major show? How about that?
Yeah,
how about Brody Lee not even coming in 1 week into the company gets an AEW title shot on their biggest pay-per-view of the year just because he left the WWE? Is that not insulting to your intelligence? Is that not insulting to your young roster of homegrown talents?
Right. Then you have people like MJF, Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy, who are homegrown talent from AEW who are getting nothing. I mean, Jungle Boy got a TNT title match, and that was actually a good match. But, of course, you knew Cody was going to go over because the established stars, the elite, have to rule the company, and then the other, well, maybe we'll give those young upstarts a chance someday. Yeah. Tell me that's not insulting. It's ridiculous.
Look, WWE is not without fault, but neither is any wrestling promotion out there. Right. And for these guys to act like they're Teflon and they do nothing wrong is absolutely embarrassing. It's unfortunate because I really like what Taz is doing in AEW. I love what he does on Dark. I like what he does with Brian Cage. I think he's been doing a tremendous job. I'm still happy to hear JR on commentary. Now, I could be objective and say for the fact, in my opinion, that he was not good in the beginning stages of his run with AEW. And that's just my opinion. But I'm happy that JR's there. I'm happy that JR's having fun. I'm happy that he's not dealing with political or backstage issues. Again, WWE is not without fault, but let's not sit there with a straight face and say that everything AEW does is awesome. They do nothing wrong. There's no backstage issues that we don't know about. There's no backstabbing. This is a pro wrestling business. You're going to tell me that AEW does no backstabbing under any circumstances that we don't know about? Right. That Tony Khan doesn't make shady business decisions like Vince McMahon? We haven't found out the reason why Kylie Ray left AEW, even though she was going to be the face of the women's division, but nobody seems to bring that up. Everything's about this also precious culture and our feelings don't get hurt. Nobody critiques our matches. There's not a filter over the BS that we put on air sometimes. And that's my issue with AEW as a whole. They have no identity, but they'll tell you everything that's wrong with every other wrestling promotion in the world. And when you call yourself all elite wrestling, yet you don't want elite standards, that's ass backwards, in my opinion. This thing is absolutely ridiculous. It's really, really sad. And you know, the funny thing is, what JR and Taz said last night isn't even the biggest thing I'm upset about this week with AEW. I just think it's silly notion. That's why we're talking about it right now, because I like to point out fallacies in narratives. That I get an enjoyment out of that. Just being honest with you guys, I do.
Right.
Because you'll have something like that, and they'll take that as gospel. I'm sure Twitter's eating that up, just like the whole sloppy shop promo Taz cut a couple weeks ago. Focus on your own shit. How about that?
Oh my God, what a concept. Focus on your own product? Josh, no. You can't.
No, it's too hard.
You can't focus on your own product and just, oh God. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'll wait for AEW to be a publicly traded company. Then we'll talk about them being real competition. Give me a fucking break.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Again, what is AEW focusing on? Oh, we're going to focus on our own talent. No, we're focusing on ex-WWE guys and the internet darlings, which call themselves the elite. You know,
and watch how much filters get implemented once they start having sponsors and people to answer to.
Right.
Because it seems that WWE doesn't want to adhere to anything the fans want. Supposedly WWE doesn't want to do things out of the box, but no, nobody takes into account what NBC hovers over them and governs them from doing from a content point of view. Why do you think their show's PG?
Because it's on one of the four. Because, okay, Josh, here's the deal. WWE has a program on every week in a primetime spot on one of the four major networks in the United States. They have a show on Fox that every single person in the United States can watch with or without cable, because, you know, you can just get rabbit ears that pick up the local Fox station, because Fox is a public television station across the United States. TNT is on cable. You have to pay to watch AEW. You don't have to pay to watch WWE. You can watch it every week for free.
Hey, here's a quick question. What's the real ratings for AEW if they don't have the show be rated TV 14? Can you answer me that question?
I can't.
And here's the thing. JR goes on to say in the beginning part that, hey, there really shouldn't be a reason why you pick or watch other shows on Wednesday nights. You can just watch NXT on DVR because our shit's better. I really did not want to talk about this today because, again, I love JR, and I'm not going to come here and throw insults towards these guys. That's not what we're doing here. I just think the assertions that they made during that discussion in that clip was absolutely ridiculous. And that's just my opinion. You could agree or disagree with me. I really don't care. But here's the thing. I'm glad that you think your shit's better. You should.
Right.
When you have your own company, when we have our show, I think our show really does well compared to other wrestling shows out there. That's not my issue. But for the same guy that a couple weeks ago with Tony Schiavone in the car is like, I don't understand why certain wrestling fans feel like they need to pick AEW or WWE, and while you could enjoy all these other promotions. And then 2 weeks later, he goes on his freaking post-game show saying, I don't see a reason why why you used to pick NXT over us. Like, don't you notice how ass backward that is? You gotta pick a lane, dude. Either you have issues that you want to vent out for 25 plus years of service with WWE or not.
Right.
I want genuism. How about that? That should be too hard to ask. Now, here's my real issue with AEW this week. Why is Sammy Guevara back right now?
See, I did want to talk about this because I said this to you. I love Sammy Guevara. I think Sammy Guevara is one of AEW's homegrown talents. I think in a lot of ways before he had his issues and he needed to go away. Absolutely. What he said was on social media was completely unacceptable. He needed to be suspended without a pay. And I agree 100% with AEW's decision. They're sending a message that you can't exhibit that type of behavior. So I was very happy about that. Now I love Sam, but now that being said, I'm actually glad Sammy Guevara is back. I think he is eclipsed Jericho in some ways in the inner circle. He's that good, and he could be one of AEW's homegrown, rising up through the company. Him along with MJF are the two homegrown talents that could become really legit superstars in the world of professional wrestling. But I'm happy Guevara's back. I am. I think that you can build a company around him along with MJF, but Apparently you're not thrilled about that.
What I'm not thrilled about is when you have a guy that gave your company bad press, and that's what you show last.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I like Sammy Guevara as a performer. I said that on the show. I enjoy covering his matches. He made irrehensible comments.
Yes.
When you say stuff that he said, I don't have any respect for that.
Right.
That's where I draw the line. I don't care how good of a wrestler you are. Hell, people trash Austin Aries every single day for the stupid shit that he says every day, and justifiably so.
Right.
I just think it's a bad look for your company when you have somebody that gave you really bad press during a Speak Out movement, and 2.5 weeks later, he just randomly pops up to close your show for a surprise. This big deal that Sammy Guevara is back. I get it. He is the future of their company. That's not my issue. Again, these guys live in a bubble. Every wrestling company in the world lives in a bubble. Ladies and gentlemen, understand that they live in their own bubble. And I just think I think you send a bad message to your audience like that. I mean, hell, Triple H got dog shit because he had the whole click curtain call incident at Madison Square Garden. He was supposed to win the King of the Ring that year in '96, and he got buried and got bad treatment from the company. Compare that to Sammy Guevara mentioning rape and then appearing in the main event when he comes back. That's just not a good look. That's just my opinion. And then here's the other part. I like watching Hangman wrestle, but that match with 5 should have been 2 segments.
Yeah, that I agree with. And well, it's anytime you have the Dark Order, it's just and now Dark Order is getting a tag team title shot next week, which I guess they're the #1 ranked tag team in AEW. But when was the last time you saw Evil Uno and Stu Grayson compete on television?
They've been on Dark a couple times,
right? But again, and I know you said they cater to we talked about this earlier, but they cater to the hardcore fans. But I don't watch Dark because I just don't have time to watch Dark. So like.
Hey, for those who don't watch Dark, you can check out ProWrestlingTransmissions.com.
Good plug, brother. But yeah, I mean, that shouldn't have gone 2 segments. I agree. And like I said, Adam Page is one of my favorite wrestlers in AEW. I think he's absolutely terrific. But he didn't even use his buckshot lariat to end the match. That says a lot about how good Five's push is going. Good Lord.
Yeah. You know what? This is the last thing I'll mention here for our segment.
Yeah, because I know we got to wrap this thing up.
Yeah. They had 3 recipes of why I did not like the main event. Stunted growth and constant interference. Aubrey Edwards, the worst referee in professional wrestling right now. And 3, Jake Hager. You're giving me a 20-minute match with Jake Hager, Santana and Ortiz constantly interfering, even though they should have been ejected from ringside before the first commercial break, and Stunted Growth coming in, doing a Frankensteiner into an inside cradle, and the referee allows that. What?
It's the refereeing, Josh. Even you've brought this to my attention in playing the clips from Jimmy Corderas and all that stuff. Dude, the refereing in AEW is just god awful. The counts are slow. They're always out of position. They just bend in the rules to however they feel like. How they bend the rules however they feel like to go with the storyline. It's awful.
It's piss poor.
It's
bad.
No.
Was there anything else you wanted to mention?
Nah, I think that we've ranked on enough. Let's get out of here.
This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
I don't even know if this company is worth the clown song anymore because the clown song's actually entertaining.
They play a good joke on us every 2 hours on TNT every week. So,
oh man, Josh,
hey brother Carter, serious sports-based wrestling, but we don't insult your intelligence. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, Josh, I know we've been going at this for a while, but I know you're excited. Baseball's back this weekend, so that's cool.
Yes, go White Sox. No Cubs, please. No Cubs in my radar, please. I do want to mention this because we were teasing it earlier. Bryan Alvarez.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Bryan Alvarez the other day. I found this clip on YouTube. Somebody sent it to me. They said you would get a good kick out of it, and I actually did. So they were having a conversation about Raw focusing on older talent recently. And he was saying that one of his issues with Raw is that the matches build into a commercial break. Well, I would like to remind Bryan Alvarez in 2020 that a show on worldwide television goes by a television format. That's how it's supposed to work. Oh, we never let a full match happen. Oh, we always got to go through commercial breaks. It's a freaking television show. What? Come on, man. Like, Brett Carr, please. I know you're a well-educated man. Like, honestly, you know how ridiculous that statement is?
I mean, that's what you've got to. You have sponsors. You have to put commercial breaks at certain intervals to fulfill your commitments to sponsors, to the networks and what they want. Yes, that of course you're gonna. Okay. So by Bryan Alvarez's logic, every match on television should be less than 10 minutes. So you're saying you're not going to give Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens or Seth Rollins and Aleister Black, you're not going to give them 30 minutes just because of commercial breaks? Like, really? God, that's just what that is immature, asinine. Just the I'm trying to think of the word here. They're asinine comments. They're I can't think of the word right now, but they're just uninformed. That's a comment of just of ignorant. That's the word I'm looking for. It's an ignorant comment because it's being negative for the sake of being negative for ratings, for bashing WWE because that's your shtick. Yeah,
here's the cold honest truth. Bryan Alvarez and Dave Meltzer are incompetent journalists and on-air hosts. Correct. So you don't need to take my words for it. Hell, go check out what AJ Styles has been talking about them on Twitter, so you guys can find that for yourselves.
Alvarez.
Last thing I wanted to mention before we head out here. As somebody who lives here in the city of Chicago, I'm kind of getting tired of seeing the national networks and these political networks talk shit about my city when they don't know anything that goes on over here.
Right.
And I don't want to turn this into a political thing, but I think it's very convenient. 2 or 3 months out from the election, now this asshole wants to send the feds to this city when you have 3.5 years to fix the gun violence. 117,000 gangs in the city of Chicago, and now we have to wait 3.5 years later for you to give two shits because it'll help you out in your campaign. Stop talking about my city, do something about it, and shut the fuck up. All right?
I think that's a good way to end, my brother.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys so much for checking out episode 215 of the Hoots podcast. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast anywhere it's available. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. We're also here on YouTube if you want to check out the video versions of the show as well.
You can see my awful hair today. I'm having a bad hair day here, Josh.
Make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. And then finally, please leave us a review. Let us know what you think about the podcast, good or negative. What do you think about our AEW segment that we do every week? I would love to get some responses on that. And that's pretty much it. Of course, you can find me on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast. I'm also on Instagram at JoshieLopez94 at JoshieLopezMusic. Make sure to follow Brother Carter on Twitter at Derek Stoughton and Derrico06 on Instagram as well. Check out his work on WrestlingRumors.net. Really good opinion pieces. I think it's time for a new one coming up soon.
The wheels are turning, and when I feel strongly enough about something, believe me, we'll address it.
Yes. All right. So, for the director of operations, Brother Carter, I am the nefarious Brother Adam. Thank you guys so much for checking out the podcast. Remember, be the authentic product that is yourself. As EC3 would say, control your narrative. We love you guys, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Yes, sir.
Peace. Yes, sir.